Ladies and gentlemen, it's Rivers Corbett, and you are listening to the HeadSpace for Entrepreneurs podcast. And I'm just so excited to talk to entrepreneurs from around the planet. And today we have Tollisha Joseph. But before we get to her, we're going to just thank my sponsor, which is Deep Work Sprints. Every day we hang out and do focused work for 100 minutes straight and really bring epic stuff together. So if you're interested in what it is we're doing, just go to deepworksprints.com. Just use the code HeadSpace for Entrepreneurs, and they'll give you a cool $50 towards your membership. It's really awesome. That's deepworksprints.com. And Tollisha Joseph and I connected on LinkedIn together, and we both know the power of LinkedIn. But this woman is really taking networking to an entirely new level, and giving COVID and all that craziness we're using, I wanted to bring her on to the HeadSpace for Entrepreneurs show. Tollisha, how are you doing today, my friend?
I am doing absolutely amazing. I am so excited to be here and have this conversation with you, Rivers. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, you're very welcome. We're really honored to have you here. And so I want to take you on the journey that you took me on when we first met. We just kind of connected on LinkedIn and just had a beautiful conversation. But can you take us back to that networking that spot where you said you were saying, I really enjoy doing this, and I want to work with other people to help them to network better.
Oh, yes. So the reason why I got into the networking space was because I was a server in a restaurant.
Yep.
And I think this is the story that you're referring to. So I'm just going to share this and tell me if it's not. So because
Okay.
I know we had so many lovely stories in that conversation.
We did, yeah.
But so I was a server in a restaurant, and I realized that I became like the cleanup girl. So
Right.
what that means is the host didn't host, so I was the hostess, or the server didn't serve, so I became the server to all the tables, or the bartender wasn't tending, so I became the tender of the bar, right? So I realized that there was just a lack of connection and
Yes.
listening in that space. So if it's happening in the space where basically connection kind of runs the show,
Yes.
that means there's a lack in the space all around. So
Right.
when I developed this company, the Official Glue, my original idea was really to help corporations learn how to network with their consumers,
Right.
and fill in that gap, because I think that's where it gets a little disconnected, where the corporations are so invested in their bubble of marketing that they never drop down to the consumer level to understand what does the consumer really want. And then as a consumer, we're just not able to touch the corporation to tell them what it is that we actually want. So the connectivity is missing.
Mm-hmm. Got it. And so you recognize this, but how come other people don't recognize this? The connectivity is missing.
I think that the reason why we don't recognize it is because we're so self-consuming. We
Mm,
love ourselves so much, and we love everything that we do, that we never take a moment to say, man, something's not right. Something's missing. Or,
right.
you know, this isn't just the operation system of this is just not working effectively. It's not serving me. It's not serving you. So how do we fix it? And I think the way that we can start to think about that idea in a larger capacity is to remove ourselves from it.
Right. Yeah, and that's very interesting. So, okay, so how are you solving the world? What are you
I,
doing to kind of saying, hey, wake up, world, this is a problem, and I'm going to help you solve it?
well, I'm fixing the world one conversation at a time, and and I think that's the way the world needs to work, honestly, because I've been approached to do so many larger scale projects, and I've always turned them down because it's not going to work on a larger scale. Everybody is different. we all communicate differently. We all
Right.
have different strategies on how we want to communicate with one another. So how
Uh-huh.
can we box it and say this is the corporate style of communication? There is no corporate style. So we have to just go one person at a time. It's an individual service. I serve people on an individual level, and I really take the time to listen to what they want to say, and then we craft a message that is transferable so that I can share it with you, and then you could share it with someone else, and then they can share it. And the beauty about it is leadership starts from the top. So if the top person in that hierarchy is not in a communicative space, and they're not trying to communicate with the lowest totem pole person, or the lowest person on the totem pole, then there's a misconnect there. So
Mm,
we have to
mm.
create these messages that really work throughout the whole system from the top to the bottom. So that's
So
what I do for people.
yeah, so that's interesting. So let's talk about those messages and how does it get to the point that a prospect says to you, "I really need your help, Talisha. You got to. When can we meet?"
So the process for that, I love this question because I think a lot of people don't understand what I do right from the beginning. So what I've crafted is we have these deep dive discovery calls, and usually I don't really package them like discovery calls because I think
Mm,
discovery calls are so unattractive,
mm, mm.
right? So I really package them as intentional conversation. So if you ever were to like book a session with me, it would be an intentional conversation, really just to listen to see what it is that I can help you with anyway. Are there any disconnects in your conversation with me that I can help you tighten up? So,
Right.
you know, when we talk about conversation, there's different levels of conversation, which is the suggestive conversation, which is something I really want to pinpoint this one because this is the one that seems to be the the most um, known type, or the one that I see the most rather. So
Right.
a lot of people talk in suggestive language, especially when we're thinking about selling something or exchanging items. We are very suggestive in our communication. So we want to say like, if you want to, or if it's possible, or maybe you thought, those phrases, but those phrases are not transferable because they create doubt. Um, so those are the things that I'm listening for. Like, how can we strengthen your message to make it so that it's appetizing, like a dish on a plate, right?
Yep. Yep.
If the steak looks gray, you're not going to eat it, right?
Yeah.
But if it is a very, very nice and has that caramelized little crust and sizzling and hot, and the butter is kind of rolling off, it just makes you want to. And
Right
we
on.
think about the suggestive language to be the gray steak, where it's like, I know it's steak, but I don't know if I could trust this steak, because it's like, if you want to eat me, that's what it's saying.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so, as humans, we all have these insecurities, and they come out in our language. So I help people identify where their insecurities lie in their language, and kind of help them remove that so they can get into the circles that they really want to show up in
Ah. Right.
strongly. Yeah.
Right. Okay, cool. So there's interest. Okay, so the messaging is fine-tuned. It is crafted in a way so that it helps them get into the circles, i.e. the clientele base, if you want to break it down to that they really want to connect with. So I like to describe, business as a dating game. And is it fair to say that's what you're a dating coach with regards to messaging?
Yes, I love to say the same thing. I love to say that it's like a beautiful date, like the one that you don't want to leave, the one that
Mm-hmm.
you want to have that second and third and fourth date. And how do you
Mm-hmm.
create that from the first date? So I help you go on your first date with confidence.
Got it. Yeah, got it. And then you just repeat and repeat and repeat. And if the messaging is working, then why do you have to change it? Do you find that people get very like I'm reading a book now called The Greatest Salesman in the World, and it talks about the ability to have great success with one message that is practiced again and again and again. Do you subscribe to that?
Yeah, I think that the one thing that's missing from that, so I agree with that message. And I also want to add to it, which is if your message is really effective, you don't have to tell it over and over again. That's the key.
Ah,
The key
that's
is
interesting.
to have other people tell that message to other
Mm,
people. So
got it.
that's the power of networking. That's why I call myself a networking strategist, because I help you craft a message that is transferable. I tell you the message, and then when you hear somebody who hits my trigger words, you can tell them that message for me on my behalf.
Right, right. Got it. Got it. Got it. Got it. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, there's a commercial that used to be around. I think it was called Pert Shampoo at the time, and she told two people who told two people, and it just it just gravitated from there to multiple people. But so the messaging then isn't just about being effective. It's about I think you referenced the point about being simple so that others can easily tell it.
Yes. So it's
Very
really crafting a message that has. So I like to describe it, and I know you're a food guy, so I'm going to talk food here,
okay.
right? Because it just makes it easy, because everybody enjoys a good plate of food, but we've all been to a restaurant before, and we've all read menus, and we are either turned on or we are turned off by the messaging in the menu, which is those descriptions about the plate. So
Hmm.
if we've ever been to a fancier restaurant where there are no pictures and we have to use our imagination, we could say that those descriptions are very, very savory, where you read it and it just makes your mind go. You could close your eyes and you could imagine what you're going to get on your plate. And that
Right.
is a great message, right?
I
But
love it.
when we get to those lower end restaurants that are kind of trying to still figure out what it is that plate looks like, they always kind of put a picture, because they haven't figured out the language yet to get you to that point where your mouth is watering. So
Right.
I am here to help you get that mouth watering plate without the picture.
Love it. Got it. Got it. Okay. So, what are the ways in which we talked a little earlier today about how you're working with Clubhouse as an example. Can you talk about your journey using it's a new platform.
Yeah, super new. I've been on it for at least a month, and just to say, like, I've only been active on the app for a month. I have almost 2,000 followers on there, but I want to press that following on there is not important at all. But just to say, the growth potential on that app is huge. Um, and I have been partnered with another community, and we've been featured in 2 magazines, and that's only in 3 weeks. So
Right.
the growth potential, if you know what you're doing. So this is really where networking kind of, it's a hit or you could totally miss it. And
Got it.
I've been able to hit because I have my tailored message. I am not long-winded, so I go up and I say what I need to say. I stick to my story, I stick to the topic, and
Hmm.
I make impact every conversation. And so people really are searching for me now. They're inviting me to do a lot of rooms with them. I'm getting a lot of invitations, which is practicing what I'm preaching or what I'm teaching, is how do you get people to chase after you and you not chase after them?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Isn't that great when you're able to get to that position that it just starts to happen? So very cool. So, how do people hang out with you? How do people even find you? You're on Clubhouse, obviously, but I love what what I love about you, amongst many things, is though the singular focus is on networking with effective messages. That's really what you're focused in. You're in recognizing. I remember somebody asked me, "How do you market your business?" I say, "Open my mouth." And so what you're doing is you're teaching me, people like me, as to how to open their mouth and be effective with the words that come out of it. Boom, that's it. Pure and simple, pure and simple, pure and simple. So how does somebody get to now say, I want some help here, Tollisha? You sound like you know what you're doing. What's next steps?
Well, the next step is I'm actually building out my website now, because I do realize that more people need me, so I need some place to send them to. So I'm
Hmm.
building that out. But prior to that, it's just my Facebook page, which is Glue LLC on Facebook. There is a scheduling link there, so you are able to schedule something with me if you are looking for that service. And there goes that suggestive language, right? But
Yeah, yeah, that's
there's
right. Yep,
good
totally.
there's good suggestive language. So I mean, when you are offering an invitation, it is an open invitation. So that's a
Mm,
tip. Um, so it's an open invitation for you to join me on my Facebook page. Come over there, see what I'm doing. If you would like to have a conversation with me, definitely use my scheduling link and pop yourself into my calendar. It's open. So as long as there's space for you, and I'm welcoming any conversations. I am a conversationalist. I love to talk. So I'm always down to talk to people and teach them how to talk a little better.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Who's your favorite networker? If I said to you, okay, who's the one that you emulate, you look at and say, whoa, that's pretty cool. If I could be like her or him.
So I'll tell you a little story. It's crazy, right? Because in my beginnings, I was so unconfident with what I was doing because I just didn't see anybody who was doing it. There was
Right.
no there was no one else that I could kind of emulate or copy in this space because I searched everywhere. I mean, I did a YouTube scrub like you never believe, just typing in every variation of networking and finding someone who spoke my language. And the person that I found that spoke my language so clearly was Jordan Harbinger. And
Jordan Harbinger. Now
yes,
tell us about Jordan.
he is and he's awesome. He was a lawyer turned networker, and he gives you like these awesome tips on how to like build your networking strategies out, starting with you. So how can you become a stronger networker? And these
Hmm.
really tactical things, like he would say, okay, put post-its on the door with questions, and they would make you always stay at eye level with people, so you're never looking down. You'll always be looking people in the eye with networking. Just things like that. And how to go through your contact list and start from the bottom to re-engage yourself with old contacts, like those tactical things. And I was like, man, you're speaking my language. So if there's anybody that I would say, I built a foundation off of his teaching, and then I just kind of made it my own strategy and elevated it a little bit, because I think there are those face-to-face networking tips, and you know of looking people in the eye when you're talking to them, and being complimentary when speaking to someone. Those are things that'll always get you a head up or a level up in the networking space. But then I think the one thing that he was missing was the tactical teaching of, so what do I tell that person? What am
Mm,
I supposed to say to them? you know
mm,
so
mm.
that's
Gotcha.
where I come in, and I really am focused on the words. Like, what do you tell somebody when you meet them? And how deep are you supposed to go into your story when you're talking to them? How do you create interest for them to want to connect with you and be inside your phone? You know,
Right.
how do you
And
stop giving out your phone number and collect numbers?
right.
So,
It sounds, as I'm listening to you, it's like this great relief is going over me. I can finally start to enjoy. I mean, I'm a conversationalist anyway, so it's okay, it comes naturally to me. But my point is, I can imagine the thousands upon thousands of people who just struggle with this stress of trying to have a life, let alone have a business, and just really don't know how to do it. And so what I'm visualizing is these people with they're just all of a sudden, ah, oh, this is fantastic. I got somebody that can help me now in this particular area. You must get a lot of people that you talk to and who just feel relief that a service like yours is available.
yeah, I do find that a lot of people, when they do talk to me, they do have this like, huh, like the Oprah aha moment, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they get like this light bulb of clarity, like it's really not as hard as I thought it was, right? And I think when we talk about networking, we've been conditioned to believe that it's like this tug of war type of activity where, I really got to get in there and kind of tell people what it is that I'm doing. And I have to be the first one in the room. I got to be the first one to talk. And I need to get my business card inside that pile. And it really shouldn't be that. It's really about genuinely connecting with the people that you want to connect with. And one of the tips that I can leave the audience with is target networking. And people are like, what do you mean target networking? What is that? And it really is figuring out who your ideal target is. What kind of person do you want to be in their community? What type of community do you want to be in? So although COVID has come, right, and we can't really do this face-to-face interaction anymore, it's still a live thing about targeting your network capabilities, even online, because let's just set this up, right? We are now on Zoom world, and we're doing networking through Zoom more than ever. One of the things I really do when I get on a Zoom call is I start looking for the people whose face shows up. So that kind of that kind of scales down my networking capabilities. I'm not networking with you if your face is not on the screen. That's
right on. Yep. Yeah. Right? Same way with me, by the way. If I don't see a profile picture on LinkedIn, not doing business with you.
Yeah. We can't do business with blank boxes. That's number one. And then number two is I always want to be the last person to speak.
So, that's interesting.
Because I want to hear everybody else's stuff so I can decide who is that person that I'm really going to go after. Who in the room is the person I'm really going to go after. So I think traditionally we're taught to go after everybody, right? Because everybody has an opportunity, but that's not effective, because you really want to go after the person who's going to offer you the biggest opportunity. You know, and how do you do that? You got to listen. So don't be so quick to raise your hand in these networking situations. Listen first and ask powerful questions. That's another thing. People don't really ask powerful questions. They just ask simple questions with simple answers. So you really want to ask a question that's going to dig a little deeper so that you can scale down your target a little more and really get a bullseye on your networking strategy and who you want to intercede with. Who is the person that you need to invest a lot of energy and time into, because their network is going to pay off.
Yeah, I love it. It's I have a friend of mine, interesting guy, great conversationalist. But one day he was over in Germany, and he came back from a trade show he was at, and he was bragging. He says, "Oh, Rivers," he says, "I gave out 250 business cards to people." And I'm thinking to myself, that's really good, but did anybody remember you? Did you have a deep conversation with anybody that they want to do a follow up? And so it's I like to say, use a reference point, is that that's like barfing all over somebody. It's just, here's my card, here's my card, here's my card. Nice talking to you. Off to the next person. And it just goes on a pile of business cards. So I love that you said focused networking. I think that's what it was, wasn't it? That focused networking?
Target networking. But focus, networking. Target, same deal.
Same thing. Yeah, same thing.
We're not going to front too much about the verbiage on it, but it's just, focusing or targeting on an ideal prospect, because prospecting is part of sales, right? We all have to prospect, but the sales community really says everybody's your client, everybody's a potential. Not true. Because of exactly what you're saying. Like, we give out 250 business cards and we get zero return on those advances. But what if you made very targeted advances? You would get a bigger return.
Yes. Yeah. That's right. Yep. So had two meaningful conversations that ultimately turn into some good dollars and cents for you, versus 20 that are just very superficial. Again, it's the dating game. It's the total dating game.
Yeah. But even when we think about dating, if we want to use that analogy, right, where, as a 20-something dating, what are you taught? Oh my God, just date as much as you can, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
if
yeah.
you
Right,
date a
right,
lot, then you'll be able to find your perfect match. But
right.
as a result of dating a lot, you're not really finding your perfect match because you weren't taught to kind of have a strategy around your dating.
Yeah, that's right. Very good point. Really, really, really good point. Tollisha, tell us again how people can get in touch with you, because I think it's important to repeat it. There's great nuggets of value in our conversation, great value in our guests reaching out to you. And so tell us again how the magic can all begin in dating you.
You can date me well, by LinkedIn. So you can date me on LinkedIn at Tollisha Joseph.
Yeah.
You can date me on Facebook at Glue LLC, or you can date me on Instagram at the_official_glue. And there's a
Love it.
little bit of a story behind that because, when we're all new in business, we're naive and we know nothing, right? And
Right.
so I jumped the gun and I got so excited and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to get my LLC and I'm going to do it. And I applied for my LLC, and then I opened my Facebook business page, and I opened it with my ideal name, right? Glue, because that was my
Yes.
ideal name. If I could have got it, I would have loved it. So I
Yes.
got over excited and I opened my Facebook page and I said, I'm going to name it Glue LLC. And then I got denied for that name when I did my LLC. So I had to change it. So, just a tip out there for anybody who's starting a business and want to do down that trail. If you want to name your Facebook or any of your socials, your business name, wait until your docs come back to approve your name. Because if you don't, you'll be like me where you got to state all these different names. And I hate that Facebook doesn't allow me to change it, but it is what it is. And I'm going to,
Yeah.
embrace my story of startup because it's a hard role to start a
Yeah,
business
it
without
is.
any
Yeah.
direction.
But not with people like you in our corner. And Tollisha, thank you so much for being a part of the the Headspace for Entrepreneurs podcast today. Really appreciate you and all the magic that you're bringing, and I'm so happy to have you in as part of my network. So you keep on happening, my friend.
Oh, Rivers, man, I love it and I'm so excited that we connected. I'm so happy that you invited me to share what I know to grow your community, and that's like my little tag, connecting what you know with how you grow. So I'm so excited to share what I know to grow anybody. So
Cool.
thank you for the opportunity to share with your community.
You're so welcome. This is Rivers Corbett, everybody, and you've been listening to the Headspace for Entrepreneurs podcast with the dater herself, Tollisha Joseph. Stay tuned for next time. Bye for now.